Welcome one and all to the first round of the RLH C3 Championship, Season 7 at RLH, and it's going to be a dry quali session and an intermediate conditioned race for the first round here at Silverstone.
Standing by.
And we're getting ready to fire up the Merc engine for the first time. Racing in the Mercedes, the new black Mercedes this season. Teammate Boss Moss, unfortunately, he can't make this week. But after our first 2 laps, we were in P3 and improving on our final run. Did 3 runs in the quali session and looking very handy on this final run. But fortunately, coming out of Luffield, just running a bit wide, and that invalidated our lap time. We finished on a 1 minute 25.4 and puts us in 4th place as Madchip put a good time in right at the death. But a very good qualifying session and a lot of work to do in the race, though, with it being intermediate conditions throughout.
Welcome to Silverstone, home of the British Grand Prix. This iconic track held the very first World Championship Formula One race back in 1950, and it's a firm favourite amongst the fans and drivers alike. Silverstone Circuit then. It's 3.6 miles long and has a total of 18 corners. And of course, is no stranger to the rain. There won't be any DRS available in these conditions, but the Wellington and Hangar Straights are still good opportunities to tuck into the slipstream and make a pass. It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth.
As we come to the end of the formation lap, we're going to get ready to start the first race of the season, and the lights are here now. We have 3, 4 and 5 red lights, and it's lights out and away we go for the first time. Tricky start in the intermediate conditions. The Red Bull losing off the start on the hat, almost collecting the Haas there. We managed to gain a position from the other Red Bull. They didn't have a good start, but Billy has gone straight around our outside in the AlphaTauri. The 2 Mercs still leading out in front, and as we come now down towards Village, the first real braking spot on the first lap, and holding on to P4 at the moment, and Billy having a look at Madchip, sort of understeering wide as we went into the loop. Now the run onto the Wellington straight, thinking through Aintree. Don't have the confidence to go flat out through there and losing a bit of time to the cars in front. And you can see Marius just gaining on a touch down the straight as we come now into Brooklands for the first time. Very, very cautious, not really raced in these intermediate conditions as of yet. And of course, we're all sort of in that scenario, but I'm sort of running a half wet, half dry setup, so should be good for these intermediate conditions, and I think that will really help me out. But if it gets to a full wet or a full dry scenario, I think some of the other guys might come into play as we go through Cops for the first time. We're actually going to transition onto the 4th lap on Cops. The 2 McLarens out front have started to push away, and we're onto the back of Billy as we make our way through Magus and Beckers, then into Chapel. Drop it down into 4th gear to get some good traction off the corner, up into Rich Mix and up into Overtake. And we're now on the back of the AlphaTauri driver in the slipstream and trying to find a way past down towards Stowe, looking to the outside of the AlphaTauri driver and going round the outside as we dart into Stowe corner and get the position now up into P3. And now we're going to try and chase after the 2 McLarens up the road, try and get in amongst that battle. Yellow flags further back. We should not be affected by that. Madchip almost losing the rear as he makes his way onto the main straight. And now we've got to push and try and catch him up. Of course, a very, very, very quick driver. Madchip and Amin as well. Both McLarens looking very strong this season as we make our way down towards Village. We're going to now move on to lap number 8. And Madchip actually running wide through turn 1, and he's lost the car a touch and lost a heap of time. Compromise now in a braking zone as we're on that sort of drier line, trying to go round the outside, and that's of course going to switch to the inside for the loop, keeping it nice and tight, try and give him that room. And we, again, just like lap 1, we just don't have the confidence to go full throttle, and we have to stick behind him on this occasion. And he just seems to have much better straight line speed than me, potentially running a dry setup. And see, even in overtake, even in the slipstream, we're closing, but just not enough. We're not closing enough to have a go into Cops, and now making our way towards the Hangar Straight. We're right behind him. We're up in Rich and overtake, but we're not even closing on him pretty much as we run down towards Stowe. But now as we make our way down towards the Vale chicane, looking to try and go round the outside. And now at this point, I'm thinking a bit of a squirt of the throttle, try and get in there. We lose the rear end a touch, and that was almost like a Leclerc Verstappen moment from 2019. But again, we just have to sit behind. And now onto lap 12. Amid is not pitting at this time around. We're having another look at Madchip, and we'll see if we can try and go around the outside. We're going to try it again, but actually make contact with the rear of his car but I made sure I backed off. Didn't get any damage from it, luckily enough, but I made sure I didn't gain from hitting the rear end of the McLaren, and we're still pushing to try and catch up with him and try and keep as close as we can, hoping for another mistake, just like in the first couple of corners a few laps ago. And tactically using overtake. We're on to lap 13 now, a lap later, and this time Ahmed coming into the pit lane, and so is Jazzy Jeff. Minus one, I think the Ferrari in 6th place is coming into the pit lane as well. Very interestingly, Jeff telling us it's going to dry up. It's going to dry up. So I was staying out for the dry period no matter what, but Ahmed, Jazzy Jeff and a few others coming in, committing to that one stop, and me and Madchip staying out at the moment, and we're pushing on right behind the McLaren drivers still. And very interestingly, you can do a no stop here, and on to lap 16, we're right on the back of Madchip. We managed to get right in his right up his gearbox, and utilising overtake now quite effectively, and we saved it quite a bit. And, using lean mix where we can, and coming off of Luffield, we've managed to get a really good launch off of the corner, and we're right onto the back of McLaren drivers, a little bit compromised. Using overtake now, we're trying to go round the outside on the run towards Copse. I think we're just about going to nip ahead, and he has to tuck behind, and we slot ahead into the effective race lead of the Silverstone Grand Prix. And on lap 16, we take the lead for the first time, and into into Maggots, Beckett and Chappell. We need now to push ahead and make sure we can stay ahead of the McLaren driver, because he's very quick in a straight line, but we've gained a lot in the corner. We seem to be a bit more downforce on our car, and now it's putting the hammer down. Jeff kept saying it was going to dry up, so I was going until the period in which it dried up. And on lap 20, end of lap 21, see Ahmed now up in the 4th place, and he was gaining us a bit throughout this stint, but not massive. I think as the track sort of started to dry up, tyre wear wasn't as important, because of course we're losing the tread, and our tyres are almost sort of half slick, half inter. And I think that did definitely help as we get our second corner cutting warning. We're setting our best lap on lap 21. It showed the car still had decent pace despite the front left at the moment being 67%, and by the end of the race it was about 85. So big concern for a puncher, of course, just like the real life Grand Prix with Lewis Hamilton. But yes, it was touch and go at the end, 85%, and I think Madchip actually ended up with a penalty. Unfortunately, he dropped out of P2, but he's come around the final corner on the last lap. We're going to take the first win of the season, and very happy with that indeed. Ended up just being a good strategy call, just to do a no stop. Of course, you don't have to do any pit stops in wet conditions, but yeah, very happy with that. And I think we had good pace in the intermediate conditions, and just like my first win at RLH, that was in the inter conditions. So very happy with that indeed. Track dried out on that day, but not today. And you see some guys up and down the field have very, very quick sort of fastest laps, and it was a very competitive race, I think, throughout.